Ayo! Welcome to a bonus video and what I hope is the start to a long series to come. Now, not a long series like Create This Book. I will not be doing episodes every week, but I want it to be something regular, you know, whenever I find time, just pepper in a little dash of this. This is the Style Swap Challenge. Most of you probably already know what this is if you're into watching art videos on YouTube. Tons of people do them, but basically you pick a character, any character, and you redraw them in a variety of different styles. Cartoon styles, book styles, game styles, so many styles. There is such a broad spectrum of things that you can do with the Style Swap Challenge that I was kind of like paralyzed as far as where to start. I did come up with a system for picking styles. However, I couldn't come up with what character I wanted to do first. It's such a high pressure situation. What if I pick the wrong one? Everybody's gonna have an opinion. You should have done this, you should have done that. So instead I thought, let's make it easy. I'm gonna do a myself. Yeah, you guys have seen her many times before. Well, we're gonna take this portrait of myself, character portrait, and give her a makeover. 5 different styles. Now for my system of picking the styles, it's gonna take us a little bit of time to get there. So enough of me talking. Let's jump right in and see what swaps I can come up with. Now, when it comes to selecting styles, there are many ways to do it. Some artists just choose their favorites. Some artists spin a wheel to pick. Me, I decided to use dice. These are some large foam dice that I managed to swoop up from the Dollar Tree. And my plan for these dice is to decorate each side to represent a different style. I'm gonna have to paint them, but since they're foam, I'm not sure how it's gonna work. Let's give it a try. So if I'm doing 5 different styles in each video and I plan to use 1 die to choose each style, that means I'll need 5 dice. Since that leaves us 1 to spare, let's use it to test the paint process. First, I'm just gonna paint a base layer of black, let it dry and realized I'd need 2 coats. Let it dry again and then decided to try to use the trusty Mod Podge to seal it. Here's what we ended up with. I'm a little bothered by the extra bumpy texture. I will say that I used a heat gun between coats to speed the drying process, and I don't think the foam liked that very much. That being said, it does seem to hold up to scraping and poking. How about rolling? A couple of aggressive throws, and yeah, I'd say it holds up. Not a mark on it. Yep, I'd say we're rolling with this. Pun intended. Now on to the dice I will actually be using. Painting was a little tricky. Since I needed holding surfaces, I could only paint 4 of the 6 sides at a time. It got super repetitive, continuously doing every step over and over again for 5 dice. Not to mention doing it all again for a second coat. But once those were done, it was just a matter of painting the 2 remaining sides. With 2 coats, of course. The next step was to complete my images for the styles on each dice. As you know, I have 5 dice. Each die will be a different category, and I have 5 different styles for each. Of course, dice have 6 sides, so each one will have a choice side where I will be able to pick my favorite of the other 5. Hopefully that makes sense, but if not, I'm sure you'll get it as we go. My first category will be children's cartoons. I started with one of my favorites growing up, Ed, Edd n Eddy. The animation style of that show is just so distinct. I really can't wait to draw someone in this style. Next up, the Peanuts. I've said before that I was never a huge fan of Charlie Brown and the Peanuts, but I do really like the drawing style, and it seems pretty simple. It's gonna be nice to have some easy ones thrown in there. Okay, for the next, The Amazing World of Gumball. This is a cartoon my son loves, and I can actually tolerate, which is a super rare occurrence. The animation style is also quite unique. I'm interested to see how non-animal characters might look in this style. Okay, now this one is probably one of the most recognizable drawing styles, Dr. Seuss. Yes, it's technically more of a book style than a cartoon, but they did adapt The Cat in the Hat into a kids' morning show on PBS, so I'm claiming it. The last for this category is another childhood favorite of mine, the Powerpuff Girls. Should be fun, hopefully on the easier side. We shall see, only time will tell. The next dice category is adult cartoons. Let's start out with a classic, The Simpsons. This animation style is iconic. You could spot it from a mile away. And I actually have a lot of experience with this style. More on that later. So I'm not really intimidated by it at all, actually quite excited to try it out. The next adult cartoon, Family Guy. While the show itself is definitely one of my favorites, this style is not as distinct. It's exactly the same for similar shows like American Dad and, of course, the spin-off Cleveland show. I'm interested, though, to see how I manage to translate other characters into this style. I think I screwed that up. My Stewie looks so jacked. I'll redo him later. For now, let's press on. A show that definitely has its own style here, Bob's Burgers. I don't really watch this one much, but I am definitely excited to draw someone in this style. I don't know why, but the next one intimidates me. Rick and Morty. In hindsight, I have a handful of other ideas I might have used in place of this one, but I guess it wouldn't be as high stakes if there wasn't at least one side of the dice that I am praying not to get. Finishing out the category with probably the simplest animation style of the bunch, South Park. I love the show. I love the style. It's not intimidating. I'm excited to get to use this one at some point, for sure. Now that those are done, here's my second draft Stewie. He's looking so much better. Let's pretend this mess never happened. Okay, for the next category, I'm going with games and toys. The first style seems like it should be a simplistic swap. Lego. Lego my ego. So many directions I can take it. I think that this is going to be a fun one. The next is all the rage right now. Five Nights at Freddy's. My son is obsessed. This one's a little intimidating, but I think it'll be fun to turn whoever or whatever into a FNAF-inspired animatronic. Color me intrigued. I picked the next, Minecraft, thinking that the pixelized style would be easy. But spoiler, just doing this itty-bitty icon took way more work than I had expected, especially the coloring. I might end up hating myself for adding it. Next, I chose Monster High. No lie, I originally wanted to pick Bratz. I love that big-lipped Lolita look. I realized, though, that Monster High is super similar in style, and then I get to do a creepy monster theme to go with it. Double cool points. Also, if the character I'm drawing ever happens to be a male, Monster High has a variety of male characters, unlike the Bratz boys, where there are like 5, and they look just yikes. The last style should hopefully be easy and pretty flexible with my options. My Little Pony. Yes, the swap will always end up with a pony, but between a free range of colors, hair textures, and butt tattoo designs, I think this one could be really fun to personalize for each character. Now for my favorite category, Disney. Yes, Disney is so awesome it gets its own die. So every single style swap video will for sure have some sort of Disney transformation. The first of these transformations, Disney villains. Turning a character into a Disney villain or villainess sounds like a challenge, but a fun one. I'm here for it. Likewise, I had to add a side for Disney princesses, or princes, should my character be male. Obviously, the villains appeal more to me and my style, but I think making a prince or princess could be super fun too. This next one is ambitious, Pixar style. Of course, that's an umbrella expression for any Disney movie that has 3D animation. I know not all of them are Pixar these days, but you get me. 3D CGI Disney. Looking ahead, I see some difficulty with this one. Lots of shading and blending, but hey, I'm up for the challenge. This next one is a stretch, Monsters. Inspired specifically by Monsters, Inc., I think it would be cool to try and turn other characters into some type of monster. What would your favorite character look like if they lived in Monstropolis? Maybe we'll find out. And the last in this category, Tim Burton style. I know Tim is definitely not always associated with Disney, but I absolutely had to add this iconic style in somewhere, and since he has done some Disney, boom, there it is. Can't lie, I am dying to use this one. Okay, time for the last die. I'm skipping this first side for now because it requires no line work, just color. The category for this die is going to be Wildcard. Yes, it's a mishmash of all the styles that I want to do that don't fit in another category. For this side, my style is anime. I chose to represent that with my favorite, Sailor Moon. Well, actually, my favorite might be Fruits Basket. Whatever, Sailor Moon is still amazing and is way more recognizable, so we'll just go with that. Anime is not a strength of mine, but I do really like the style, so I'm excited to try it. The next wildcard style is comic book. I think turning a character into a comic book superhero or supervillain would be super fun. Tricky, but fun. I mean, I really enjoyed doing the comic page in Create This Book 3, so let's go for it. Okay, not sure how well this one is going to work, but I thought it could be fun to try food as a style. Like, how would a character look if they were transformed into a food? We'll see how that goes. That might also be a future regret. And the last style, baby. What would your favorite character look like in a baby version? This could end up being one of my favorites because I just know that everything that comes out of that style is going to be stupid cute. I can't wait to try it. Let's finish these off with some color. Fully awesome! Now let's talk about that first wild card I skipped. I made it look like a suggestion of Starry Night. If I roll this side, I will have to turn my character into a famous piece of art. And with that, these are done. Now to assemble the dice. I'm going to start with marking the choice side of each dice with my white Posca, then tacking the center of the images I drew with a glue stick. Finally, I used Mod Podge to glue down the corners of each image, and then as a layer over the whole die to seal it entirely. Here's how all of the dice look completed. The wildcard die, comic book, food, famous art, baby, anime, and of course, my choice. The games and toys die, Monster High, Lego, My Little Pony, Minecraft, Five Nights at Freddy's, and my choice. The Disney die, Pixar, Monsters, Tim Burton, Disney villains, Disney princesses, and my choice. The kids cartoons, Ed, Edd n Eddy, Gumball, Peanuts, Dr. Seuss, and my choice. Oh yeah, and the Powerpuff Girls. And lastly, adult cartoons. We've got my choice, South Park, Bob's Burgers, The Simpsons, Family Guy, and Rick and Morty. A year later, and we're finally ready to start. Let's roll these to see what we're going to draw now. Starting with kids' cartoons. Peanuts. Okay, I can work with that. Now adult cartoons. Whew, it's out of frame, but I got The Simpsons. Yeah, that's awesome. Next, wild card. Anime. Of course it would be anime. All right, let's do this. And now for Disney. Do me proud. My choice. Ooh, that's a tough call to make. Let's set you aside while I marinate on that. On to games and toys. Monster High. Ooh, fun. So here we have all of these, and for my choice, I'm feeling either Disney Villainous or Tim Burton. Duh, who am I kidding? It's gonna be Tim Burton. Boom, we have our swaps. Let's start with the Peanuts. I took inspiration from Angry Lucy for my face. I decided to put all of these swaps in the same outfit my character drawing has on, just a black t-shirt and jeans. I did add some Chuck Taylors though. Don't need to be all barefoot out there. And since I'm holding my Princey Pooh, I decided to add him to all of these swaps as well. For this one, I used Snoopy as a reference point, but coloring was kind of tricky since Snoopy is white and Prince is black. I had to incorporate a lot of gray. Went to color myself and had no real issues until I got to my face. Apparently, I hadn't waited long enough for my black outline to dry, and now my face has smudges. Womp, womp, womp. Not loving this one all said and done, but that's okay. We've got more to come. Next up is The Simpsons. Now, as I said earlier, I have a lot of experience with this style. How, do you ask? Well, fun fact. In middle school, I had a phase where I was obsessed with drawing all of my classmates as Simpson characters. Once I had done it for all of my close friends, then even casual acquaintances would see them and come up to me and ask me to draw them in the Simpsons style. To think, people on Etsy make hella money doing that now. I'm not bitter at all. Oh, also, this is the point where I realized I didn't add my tattoos to my Peanuts drawing, so I went ahead and did that. All in all, this one was pretty straightforward, and I even got to use Snowball as reference for Prince. Can't lie, it was a little bit of a bummer not to be able to color myself that classic Simpsons yellow. But per the show, if you're brown, you're brown. I gotta stay true to the style. I just love how this came out. Okay, for the next style, we have anime. Like I said, I'm not great at anime. I definitely need more practice. It took every ounce of my energy not to put myself in a Sailor Scout outfit, but I was able to channel a little Sailor Moon by using Luna as reference for Prince. I like that this style allows me to be more realistic with my body shape and incorporate more details. That's definitely my comfort zone. Let's move on to coloring, sticking with the same color palette as the first two. But this one is the first where I get to use some juicy highlights. I think it turned out okay. It could be better, but it is definitely not bad. Next up is Monster High. I was super excited to pick what monster I would be. Looking through the characters for this one, I was beyond ecstatic to find that they actually have characters that are cats. Persephone and Meowlady. They're in a band together. So bingo, that's my reference point. There's also an existing black cat character named Crescent who I used for Prince. Coloring this one was fun. I used a few different shades of the skin tone color to get the cat markings defined but not distracting. And like the others, used the same familiar color palette. Also got to do a couple of juicy highlights on this one. Went back in to darken up those markings. And done. Super happy with this one. Now on to the last, Tim Burton. I think I was most excited for this one. I think the trickiest part was figuring out the proportions. I made most of my drawings a bit thicker in the thigh and booty area than the references I was working with because that's truer to what I look like in person. But with Tim Burton, part of the style is making everything incredibly skinny. So even when I plump it up, it just looks average, not big. Anyways, for Prince, I used a creepy, skinny, scraggly cat a la Nightmare Before Christmas or Coraline. Then I used an extra fine liner to add a scratchy shaded texture to it all. When moving on to my coloring, I debated whether I should change my skin tone to appear more pale, as is very Tim Burton. But I chose consistency instead. I still feel like the style comes across just fine. However, I am realizing just now that I forgot my tattoos again on this one. I guess I just don't notice them on myself. Anyways, a simple sign and date, and this first style swap challenge is finished. I'm super happy with how they all came out, but I think my favorites of the day were Monster High and Tim Burton. I will say I think I like Prince in the Tim Burton one better. I don't know though. I still really like all the others, except Peanut Ashley. That one's not her fault though. Even she's mad I screwed up her face. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had so much fun with this challenge and I cannot wait to do it again. Go ahead and leave me some character suggestions in the comments for who I should style swap in my next one. Until next time, goodbye.